The December blizzard slams into Millbrook, Vermont with relentless fury. Ben Carter, 35, and weathered by 3 years of single fatherhood, carefully repairs the wooden jewelry box he crafted for his late wife, Rachel. The storm howls. An engine screams through the white chaos. Metal crashes. Glass explodes. He rushes into the freezing night where a black BMW lies crumpled upside down, wheels spinning helplessly in the deep snow. Through the shattered windshield, he sees her, an unconscious woman with honey blonde hair spilling from a blood-stained business suit, a leather briefcase scattered beside expensive heels. Ben breaks the window, pulls her limp body from the wreckage, and carries her to his modest cabin where 8-year-old Logan sleeps peacefully upstairs. As he bandages her head wound, she stirs and opens crystal blue eyes that seem to recognize something about his simple wooden box sitting on the mantel. What Ben doesn't realize is that he just saved the life of someone who already knows exactly who he is. When the woman's eyes flutter open 20 minutes later, her gaze darts around the small living room before settling on Ben's concerned face. She touches the bandage on her forehead and winces. "I'm sorry," she whispers, her voice soft and cultured. "I don't remember what happened. The last thing I recall is driving through the storm." Ben helps her sit up on his worn leather couch, noting how out of place she looks in his humble home with her designer clothes and perfect manicure. "You crashed about a quarter-mile down the road," he explains gently. "I'm Ben Carter. This is my place." She extends a trembling hand. "Kat," she says simply, offering no last name, no explanation for why a woman dressed like a corporate executive would be driving alone through a Vermont blizzard at nearly midnight. Logan appears at the top of the wooden staircase in his superhero pajamas, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Dad, what's happening?" Ben motions for his son to come down, and the boy approaches cautiously, his curious 8-year-old mind immediately fascinated by their unexpected guest. "Logan, this is Kat. She was in a car accident, so she's going to stay with us tonight until the storm passes." Kat's expression softens completely as she looks at the child, and something maternal awakens in her eyes. "Hi, Logan," she says warmly. "Those are very cool pajamas. Are those the Avengers?" The boy's face lights up instantly, and Ben notices how naturally Kat interacts with children, as if she's done this before. There's something about her gentleness with Logan that reminds him painfully of Rachel. Over the next 3 days, as the storm clears and road crews work to reopen the mountain passes, Kat remains stranded in Millbrook. She claims her phone has no signal and her car is totaled beyond repair. Ben offers her the guest room, and she gratefully accepts, insisting she'll pay for room and board. During these quiet days, she becomes part of their small family rhythm. She makes pancakes for Logan's breakfast, helps him with his math homework using techniques that seem surprisingly sophisticated, and listens to Ben's stories about his woodworking business. In the evenings, she sits by the fireplace, watching Ben carve intricate details into custom furniture pieces, her blue eyes following every movement of his skilled hands. "You're incredibly talented," she tells him one night. "These pieces are museum quality." Ben finds himself drawn to Kat's intelligence and warmth, but also puzzled by subtle contradictions. She knows expensive wine when he opens a modest bottle at dinner, identifying the vintage and region with casual expertise. Her clothes, though wrinkled from the accident, are clearly designer pieces that probably cost more than he makes in a month. When Logan asks about her job, she gives vague answers about consulting work and quickly changes the subject. Most mysteriously, she seems genuinely fascinated by his simple lifestyle, as if she's never experienced anything like it. "What's it like?" she asks one evening. "To make something beautiful with your own hands and know it will last for generations." Ben pauses in his carving, struck by the wistfulness in her voice. "It's honest work," he says finally. "The wood doesn't lie to you. 3 weeks pass in this peaceful routine. Kat has become Logan's homework helper, Ben's dinner companion, and something neither of them dares to name aloud. The boy has started calling her Cat Mom as a joke, which makes them both smile and blush. Ben notices how she lights up when Logan runs to hug her after school, how she remembers every detail of his stories about friends and teachers. One snowy Saturday afternoon, they work together in Ben's workshop, preparing 30 small wooden desks for Logan's school. Kat calculates measurements and optimizes the cutting process with impressive precision, helping Ben complete the order 2 days ahead of schedule. "Where did you learn project management?" he asks, watching her organize wood pieces with corporate efficiency. She shrugs. "I guess I'm just naturally organized." But Ben catches her checking an expensive watch hidden beneath her sleeve, and for just a moment, her face shows the stress of someone accustomed to tight deadlines and high-pressure decisions. The evening before the school's craft fair, where Logan will display a wooden toy he made with Ben's help, Kat sits on the porch watching father and son practice their presentation. Logan is nervous about speaking in front of other parents, but Kat coaches him with patience and encouragement. "Just remember," she tells him, "you created something amazing. That's worth being proud of." Ben watches this interaction with growing feelings he hasn't experienced since Rachel died. Kat fits into their life so naturally, filling empty spaces he didn't realize still existed. That night, after Logan goes to bed, Ben finds himself standing closer to Kat as they wash dishes together. "Thank you," he says quietly, "for everything you've done for us these past weeks." She looks up at him with those blue eyes, and for a moment they're close enough to kiss. But something flickers across her face, fear, maybe, or guilt. And she steps away. "I should probably start looking for a way back to Boston soon," she says, but her voice lacks conviction. The school craft fair arrives on a crisp Saturday morning, and Ben feels genuinely optimistic for the first time since Rachel's death. He has Logan, he has his work, and maybe, just maybe, he has a chance at love again. Kat wears a simple sweater and jeans, looking more relaxed than he's ever seen her, and Logan beams with pride as he explains his wooden puzzle to other families. Then disaster strikes in the most unexpected way. A parent approaches their table, squinting at Kat with recognition. "Excuse me," the woman says loudly enough for others to hear. "Aren't you Catherine Sterling? My daughter interned at your company last summer." The color drains from Kat's face as other parents begin to stare and whisper. Someone pulls out a phone and starts taking pictures. "Sterling Associates, right?" Another voice calls out. "You're the CEO who's been in Forbes magazine." Ben's world tilts as he watches Kat's transformation. The warm, approachable woman he's fallen for seems to shrink into herself while simultaneously straightening with corporate authority. "I can explain," she says quietly, but her voice is different now. Controlled, professional, distant. The other parents continue to murmur, some taking photos, others Googling her name on their phones. Logan looks confused and scared by the sudden attention. "Dad," he whispers, tugging at Ben's sleeve. "What's happening? Why are people taking pictures of Cat Mom?" Ben's mind races as he recalls oddities from the past 3 weeks. Her expensive watch, her business acumen, her sophisticated knowledge of wine and finance. He pulls out his own phone and searches Catherine Sterling CEO. The results make his stomach drop. Net worth, $50 million. Company headquarters, Boston. Recent news, Sterling Associates CEO missing for 3 weeks, stock prices plummet. The ride home passes in crushing silence. Logan falls asleep in the back seat, exhausted by the confusing events at school, while Ben grips the steering wheel and tries to process what he's learned. Catherine, stares out the passenger window, no longer bothering to hide the expensive accessories that mark her true identity. When they reach the cabin, Ben puts Logan to bed and returns to find Catherine sitting at his kitchen table, looking smaller and more vulnerable than he's ever seen her. "How long have you known who I am?" he asks, his voice carefully controlled. She looks up with tears in her eyes. "That's not fair. The question is, how long have you known who I am?" Ben sits across from her, the wooden table he built with his own hands suddenly feeling like a chasm between them. "3 hours, since Mrs. Patterson recognized you at the school fair, but apparently you've known who you are for 32 years. Catherine's voice breaks as she explains. "I didn't lie about the accident. That was real, but I wasn't driving through Vermont randomly. I came here for business." She pulls out her phone and shows him emails from 6 months ago, discussing development opportunities in rural Vermont towns. Sterling Associates has been looking at Millbrook for a tourism development project. Luxury cabins, spa resort, golf course. I was driving through to assess the property values when the storm hit. Ben feels like he's been punched in the stomach. "Property values? You mean you were here to figure out how to buy out the locals and turn this place into a playground for rich people?" Catherine nods miserably. "That was the original plan. But Ben, you have to believe me. After the first night here, after meeting you and Logan, I knew I couldn't go through with it. I called my board of directors 3 days after the accident and told them I was withdrawing from the Millbrook project." Ben stands and paces the small kitchen, his mind reeling. "So everything we've shared these past 3 weeks, was any of it real? Or were you just doing reconnaissance on the local population?" The accusation hangs in the air like a physical barrier between them. Catherine jumps up, reaching for his hands, but he pulls away. "It was real," she insists desperately. "Ben, I've never felt anything like what I've felt here with you and Logan. In Boston, I'm just Catherine Sterling, CEO. People only see dollar signs when they look at me. But here, I got to be Cat. I got to make pancakes and help with homework and feel like part of a family." Her voice cracks. "I got to fall in love." Ben wants to believe her, can see the genuine pain in her eyes. But trust feels impossible now. "How do I know what's real anymore? You let me tell you about Rachel, about how hard it's been raising Logan alone, about our financial struggles. Did you feel sorry for us? Were we just interesting specimens in your market research?" Before Catherine can answer, Ben's phone buzzes with a text from his neighbor. "Turn on Channel 8 News, now." Ben grabs the remote and flicks on his old television. The local news anchor's voice fills the room. "In a developing story tonight, missing Boston CEO Catherine Sterling has been located in the small Vermont town of Millbrook, where she's apparently been staying with a local carpenter and his young son. Social media posts from today's elementary school event have gone viral, with many questioning whether this represents a publicity stunt or genuine romance." Video footage from the craft fair plays on screen, showing Catherine and Ben at Logan's table, looking for all the world like a happy family. The reporter continues. "Sterling Associates stock has dropped 15% during Sterling's 3-week absence, and investors are demanding answers about the CEO's disappearance and apparent relationship with Benjamin Carter, a widowed father struggling with significant debt. The humiliation burns through Ben like acid. Not only has he been deceived, but now his private life is entertainment for strangers, his financial struggles broadcast for the world to see." Logan appears in the doorway, awakened by the television noise, just in time to hear the reporter mention struggling with significant debt. The 8-year-old's face shows confusion and hurt. "Dad, are we poor? Is that why kids at school sometimes can't come to our house for play dates?" Ben's heart breaks all over again as he realizes his son has been protecting him from embarrassment, just as Ben has been trying to protect Logan from the harsh realities of their situation. Catherine looks stricken as she watches this family moment unfold, understanding that her presence has brought unwanted scrutiny to the people she's come to love. "Logan, go back to bed, buddy," Ben says gently. We'll talk about this tomorrow. But the damage is done, and they all know it. After Logan reluctantly returns upstairs, Ben and Catherine face each other across his living room. The wooden jewelry box sits on the mantel between them, a reminder of love lost and the possibility of love found and lost again. "I need you to leave," Ben says quietly. "Not just because of the lies, but because of what your presence here means for Logan. Those reporters aren't going to disappear. This story is going to follow us for months, maybe years. Every time he goes to school, kids will remember that his dad was the poor guy who got fooled by the rich lady." Catherine's tears flow freely now. "Ben, please. I can fix this. I can make the media attention go away. I can transfer money to pay off your debts, set up a college fund for Logan." But her offer only makes things worse. "Do you hear yourself?" Ben asks, his voice rising. "You think money fixes everything? You think I want Logan growing up knowing that his father took charity from the woman who deceived us?" Catherine tries one more time. "What if I stayed? What if I gave up Sterling Associates, moved here permanently? I have enough money saved to live simply for the rest of my life." Ben studies her face, seeing genuine desperation there, but also the unconscious entitlement of someone who believes every problem has a purchase price. Catherine, you don't understand. You can't just buy your way into a different life. You can't cosplay as a small-town woman and expect it to be real." He goes to the mantel and picks up Rachel's jewelry box, the symbol of everything authentic and permanent in his life. "This box took me 3 months to make. Every joint, every curve, every piece of inlay represents hours of work, patience, and love. You can't just decide you want that kind of life and make it happen overnight." He sets the box back down with finality. "Real relationships are built on honesty, and we don't have that. We can't have that." The next morning, a black town car arrives to take Catherine back to Boston. Ben watches from his workshop window as she loads her few belongings, the expensive clothes looking foreign and out of place after 3 weeks of casual sweaters and jeans. Logan refuses to come downstairs to say goodbye, still confused and hurt by the previous night's revelations. Catherine knocks on the workshop door one final time. "I'm leaving this," she says, holding out a business card. "If you ever change your mind, if you ever want to talk—" Ben doesn't take the card. "Goodbye, Catherine," he says, using her full name deliberately. She nods, understanding the finality in his tone, and walks away. Through his window, Ben watches the town car disappear down the mountain road, taking with it the brief, bright possibility of love he'd allowed himself to imagine. The snow begins falling again, covering the tire tracks until there's no evidence that Catherine Sterling was ever there at all. 3 weeks pass in a haze of media attention and unwanted sympathy. Reporters eventually lose interest and move on to other stories, but the damage to Ben's privacy feels permanent. Neighbors who once treated him as just another member of the community now look at him with pity or curiosity. Logan struggles at school, where classmates pepper him with questions about the rich lady and whether his dad is sad she left. Ben throws himself into his woodworking with desperate intensity, taking on extra projects to distract from the hollow feeling in his chest. He removes Rachel's jewelry box from the mantel and stores it in his bedroom, unable to bear looking at the symbol of love when his heart feels so thoroughly broken. The cabin feels too quiet without Catherine's laughter, too empty without her presence at the dinner table, too cold without the warmth she brought to their small family. Then, on a particularly brutal morning in late January, Logan wakes up with a high fever and difficulty breathing. Ben rushes him to Millbrook General Hospital, where doctors diagnose severe pneumonia requiring immediate treatment. As Ben sits in the pediatric ward holding his son's small hand and listening to machines monitor his labored breathing, the full weight of single parenthood crashes down on him again. There's no one to call, No partner to share the fear and responsibility. Logan's condition worsens over the next 2 days, and doctors mention the possibility of transferring him to a larger hospital in Burlington if he doesn't improve. Ben hasn't slept in 48 hours, existing on coffee and terror, when a familiar voice says his name from the hospital room doorway. He turns to find Catherine standing there, still wearing an expensive business suit, but with her hair disheveled and worry etched deep in her face. "How did you know?" Ben asks, too exhausted for anger. Catherine approaches Logan's bedside carefully, her eyes filled with tears as she sees the 8-year-old connected to IV lines and oxygen monitors. "I've been monitoring local news," she admits quietly. "I saw the ambulance report online. Ben, I'm so sorry. How is he?" Ben watches as she gently smooths Logan's hair with the same maternal tenderness she showed during their 3 weeks together. Despite everything that's happened between them, seeing Catherine's genuine love for his son breaks down some of his defenses. They say the next 24 hours are critical. He tells her. His fever isn't responding to antibiotics the way they hoped. Catherine nods and quietly takes a seat in the corner chair, making it clear she intends to stay without asking permission. For the first time since Logan got sick, Ben doesn't feel completely alone. Over the long night that follows, Catherine proves that her feelings for Logan were never fake. She knows exactly how he likes his blankets arranged, remembers that he's afraid of needles and needs distraction during blood draws, recalls every detail about his favorite superheroes and video games. When Logan briefly wakes up around 3 in the morning, his face lights up despite his illness. "Cat Mom," he whispers hoarsely. "You came back." Catherine fights back tears as she takes his small hand. "Of course I came back, sweetheart. I would never leave when you needed me." Ben watches this interaction from across the room, his heart breaking and healing simultaneously. Whatever lies Catherine told about her identity, her love for Logan is completely authentic. As dawn breaks and Logan's fever finally begins to drop, Ben finds himself sitting beside Catherine in the hospital corridor, both of them exhausted but relieved. "I need to tell you something," Catherine says quietly, staring at her hands. "About why I really came to Millbrook and what I've been doing since I left." Ben braces himself for more revelations, but Catherine's next words surprise him completely. "The original development project was never what I told you. It wasn't my idea at all. My board of directors had been pressuring me for months to find new revenue streams, and they identified Millbrook as a target for aggressive development. Big box stores, chain restaurants, maybe even a small casino. They wanted to completely transform this place." She looks up at Ben with exhausted honesty. "I came here to find a way to kill the project without losing my job. I was looking for environmental concerns, historical preservation issues, anything that would make development legally impossible." Ben stares at her, trying to process this new information. "So you were never planning to destroy Millbrook?" Catherine shakes her head. "Just the opposite. But I couldn't tell my board that directly. They would have fired me and found another CEO willing to push the project through. I needed time to find legitimate reasons to cancel it." She pulls out her phone and shows him emails from the past 3 weeks. "While I've been back in Boston, I've been working with environmental lawyers and historical societies. Millbrook sits on a watershed that supplies drinking water to 3 counties, and there are Native American burial grounds on the proposed development sites. Between environmental protection laws and cultural preservation requirements, the project is now legally impossible." Ben reads through the emails, seeing months of careful legal work designed to permanently protect the town he loves. "You saved Millbrook," he says with wonder. "But that's not all." Catherine continues. "I've also been liquidating my personal assets. I sold my penthouse, my art collection, my investment portfolio, everything except what I need to live simply." She shows him bank statements that make Ben's eyes widen. I've established the Millbrook Community Foundation with $47 million. The money will provide low-interest loans for local businesses, scholarships for kids like Logan, and maintenance funds for the town's infrastructure. It's managed by a board of local residents, not by me. Ben can barely comprehend what he's hearing. Catherine, you gave up your entire fortune? She nods. I realized something during those 3 weeks here. I don't want to be Catherine Sterling, CEO, anymore. I want to be Kat, the woman who makes pancakes and helps with homework and falls asleep reading bedtime stories. She pauses, vulnerability clear in her voice. If you'll have me. Ben looks through the hospital room window at Logan, now sleeping peacefully with normal breathing and no fever. The child who brought them together, whose illness brought Catherine back, whose love for both of them has been the one constant truth through all the deception and revelation. What about your company? Ben asks practically. What about your career? Catherine smiles for the first time since entering the hospital. I've been replaced by my very capable vice president, who actually wanted the job more than I ever did. As for my career, I was hoping I might apprentice under a master craftsman I know, learn to make things that last for generations instead of quarterly profit reports that disappear with the next earnings cycle. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a small, crudely carved wooden heart, clearly made by inexperienced hands. I've been practicing. I'm terrible at it, but I love the way wood feels under my fingers, the way it doesn't lie. 6 months later, on a crisp October morning when the Vermont maples flame red and gold around Millbrook, Ben stands in his expanded workshop, teaching Catherine the proper way to use a lathe. She's traded her business suits for flannel shirts and work boots, her manicured nails for hands that show the honest calluses of someone learning a craft. Logan, fully recovered and thriving in 4th grade, works at his own small bench, making a wooden bowl for his teacher. The Millbrook Community Foundation has already approved loans for 3 new local businesses and provided college scholarships for 12 graduating seniors. Catherine lives in a small cottage she bought on the edge of town, close enough to be part of their daily lives, but far enough to let their relationship rebuild naturally, without pressure or assumptions. They haven't rushed into anything romantic. Trust, Ben has learned, grows like the trees that provide his raw materials, slowly, with deep roots, shaped by seasons of weather and time. But love, he's also learned, sometimes grows the same way. Catherine no longer wears expensive watches or designer clothes, but she's never looked more beautiful to him than when she's covered in sawdust and grinning with pride at a perfectly smooth joint she's managed to cut. Logan has 2 homes now, 2 adults who love him unconditionally, and the security of knowing that his future is bright, regardless of what happens between his father and the woman he still calls Cat Mom with pure affection. The community that once viewed Ben with pity now sees him as the man whose love helped transform a corporate executive into a neighbor, whose honesty helped turn potential destruction into permanent protection. On this particular October morning, as golden light streams through the workshop windows and the scent of cedar shavings fills the air, Ben finds himself working beside Catherine in comfortable silence. Logan hums quietly at his bench, the sound mixing with the gentle whisper of planes shaping wood and the distant laughter of children walking to school. Catherine looks up from her project, a jewelry box she's making as a Christmas gift for Logan, and catches Ben watching her. "What?" she asks, her face glowing with the satisfaction of good work and simple happiness. Ben doesn't answer with words. Instead, he reaches for the jewelry box he made for Rachel all those years ago, now sitting in a place of honor on the workshop shelf. He opens it carefully and removes a small wooden ring he carved last week during the quiet evening hours when Catherine was helping Logan with homework. It's simple, made from the same Vermont maple as the house they've all learned to call home, polished smooth by hours of patient work and endless hope. Cat, he says quietly, using the name that represents everything true and good between them. I have something to ask you. Logan looks up from his own work, his young face bright with anticipation and joy, understanding without words that some moments change everything while keeping everything exactly as it should be. Through the window, the October sun shines down on Millbrook, Vermont, where a storm once brought strangers together, and truth eventually set them free, where love grows slowly but strong, where happy endings look nothing like fairy tales but feel like coming home.